because there's a bunch of strangers in this room they don't know, you know, and I made sure that like, and again, I love having speakers and other people, but I wanted them to feel safe with me. Industry do events for us to do 2.2 million in a day. I knew I had not only an incredible event, but an incredible offer. It's another vibration to be able to hug someone and be there for them and look them in the eyes and just like, they can feel you.
The future of marketing is going omnichannel. Before we go into the interview, there's something I want to talk to you about. If you are in business, you may have realized that in order for you to sell anything, you need to build relationships first. The past 5 years, what I have found, the easiest way to build relationships is through online events. And I actually have written a book about it, High Converting Online Events. How to create, promote, and monetize your online event. Also put the exact framework behind how to make that happen. If you want to build your business using the power of online events, you can grab a copy. I'm going to put a link in the description of this episode. You can go ahead and grab it, and let's go to the episode. I got so hangry and hungry at the same time as I was watching back your YouTube videos.
The hangry Italian girl?
Yes. I was like, she makes it so delicious. Like you are eating like a lobster sandwich with cheese. I'm like, this looks so good. So I want to kind of go back in time a little bit for this episode. So how did you go from the hangry Italian girl to leading multi-million-dollar events?
Beautiful. I love that question. For you? Cool. I actually I got a whole spiel. I think that everything in life is destiny, right? And so for me, I was always willing to really figure out what is my passion. And so I don't know if you know this, but I had an accident. A glass exploded in my hand while I was waitressing. And I always had a passion for food. So I was in school for mental health psychology because I knew I wanted to help people. I was also going to EMT school. So I was riding the ambulance. I passed that with a 98 and I was going to go become a therapist. Then this accident happened and it put me on my ass. And like a lot of people who are very successful, there's usually something that happens where you kind of pivot in a new direction. So I was in my bed for quite some time, really contemplating life, and I couldn't work. It was terrible. So I ended up starting to go to restaurants and posting. I literally started the Hangry Italian Girl from my bed. I was like just not in the best place, but the only thing that brought me joy was food. Like I love food, right?
Same.
Good. I love that. A woman after my own heart. And so yeah, I started doing that, and eventually within a couple of months, like I was always like pretty good at social media. Self-taught. I had a Twitter with hundreds of thousands of followers, and I learned the algorithms and I studied. So I ended up starting a media company. So I would go in, I would get paid to eat food, and then I would pitch the restaurant owner, hey, I can run your social media. I can help get in more clients. So then that began. And probably like a year after that, people started asking me like, how do you grow your social media? How do you do this? How do you do that? And that became my very first program. That was $97. I'll never forget it. And it was called How to Build Your Social Media 101. Like I didn't know Zoom and this and that and pages. I had no idea the coaching industry really even existed. And so I just did this little thing for $97. 10 people joined. And 7 of those 10 wanted to continue working with me. So I ended up starting one-on-one coaching, which I really didn't know at the time what I was doing. And one of those 7 women that I charged $1,500 for coaching at the time, now I'm $120,000, went on to make 6 figures within a couple of months. So I knew I was onto something. And I think from there, I started investing in mentorship and attending retreats and attending events. I worked with Tony Robbins and I was like, okay, every single day I was like, how can I grow? How can I learn more? But at the same time, I think every year I started joining like high ticket programs and learning. And so eventually I probably did about 6 retreats before doing my really big event. A little crazy because I went from like 10 to 15 people to 175. But to me, it's not about the numbers. It's mastering what are you teaching? Are you embodiment of these teachings? Or do you really care? Are you mission over money? And then the money comes. And so that was really the journey of how I went from the food to the media company to coaching and then really to everything that I do today.
I love that. And actually, that was exactly what I was noting as you were speaking. I literally just noted, love that. Like, like I was supposed to write like some kind of keywords for me to ask the next question, but I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna say I love that. But I especially love the fact that you were putting yourself out there. Like you sound like that type of grindy entrepreneur that is like out there doing it, putting yourself out there because pitching restaurants and then becoming a client. I think that's just so brave. I don't know if you consider yourself brave, but I think that's just such a brave move.
I mean, honestly, restaurant owners are not the best people to work for. So I think I had a little bit of thick skin before, so I ran this food company, then I ran this media company. And I think having two pretty decent businesses, obviously not as successful as the coaching and the events and all that, but it taught me a lot about resiliency, hard conversations, negotiation. Like restaurant people do not want to pay top prices. But I would, at first, the first couple of months, I'd be like, oh, you won't do it for 1,000? Okay, 500 and this. And then I learned to walk into a restaurant with my head held high and like, this is the price or I'm out. And so I think there were so many tools and skills that I learned through those two companies to then walk in and become a mentor and start a successful company because I had already had so much experience.
Yeah, and it was so important, I guess, in that journey. So you talked about attending to Tony Robbins' events and then obviously organizing Meant for Magic.
Mm-hmm.
What did you take away from those events that you wanted to make your event exceptional, especially because you're dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars before the event is even like sold out, right?
That's actually a really good question. So I've probably attended, if I had to take a guesstimate, over 50 events and retreats. And so I would go to events and honestly, in my head, I would be like, I love this. This is not a vibe. I love this. This is not a vibe. And so I would pull things here and there, but to be full transparent, like, for example, a lot of events I went to, the food was like, women need to be nourished. Not that men don't, for the record, right? But like, when we're going all day long, we want to feel safe. We want to feel seen. We want to feel nourished to be able to be in a room. And so there were like things that I noticed where I'm like, this is not conducive for the women in the room that I'm doing. So, eat with Tony Robbins. And I love the whole experience, but it starts at like 8, 9 in the morning and goes to like 3 a.m. And for a lot of the women I noticed more are like dozing off or getting tired. And I'm like, that's too long for me. So there were things that I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this signage. And so I just learned so much around the experiences that really lit me up, the things that I loved, and then the things that I was like, I am going to improve this experience. And so I know that most people do not drop close to 600,000 on their first event. It's a very ballsy move, and I knew that I wanted to not just be the best, I wanted to have the best. Between my food, I think we spent over $100,000 just on food for the event, but everyone's like, oh my God, this is so yummy. This is so great. But the decor, we decked out that room in lights and sparkles, like the signage and the team that I had there. I took care of all of my team's flights, all of my team's rooms, made sure they were at their highest so they could serve all the people that were coming in. We had just so much that I feel like kind of gets missed at events where it's one thing where someone has to wait really long or they don't feel like the food's that great or their allergies aren't met. We make sure that we're not just, I love to eat meat, but I made sure that people who are gluten-free or they're vegan or they're this, that we had something for everyone, So I think that all these events showed me just as much as what like I enjoy and I like, but also what not to do.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I love especially the care that you put into and the thought that you put into that. When you were doing all these, preparations for the event and especially like dropping close to 600K on it, were you like your family members like, are you okay? Like, is this,
Yeah. I actually had one of my mentors say to me, you don't need to spend this much. Like, this is over the top because most people wouldn't invest at that level, you know? And yes, a lot of people are like, what if you don't make it back? Like, what if this, what if that? I can actually tell you, I don't know if you're aware of this. I walked in the room in the green. So I walked in the room already making $600,000 before I stepped foot on that stage. I pre-sold what I was selling at the event to people. We had so many people who wanted to sponsor the event and speak at the event, which cost money. And between the ticket sales and all that, like I was in the room golden. And so I didn't have any fear in my body. There's no pressure that I needed to sell something there, although we do pitch at the event. It felt really good, but I knew, and I'm just going to speak for myself here. I have a rather like bougie taste, right? Like I want to feel like I'm going in a room and I'm being taken care of. All my senses are delighted that I'm spending this money to not only on the ticket, but I'm coming here, I'm traveling here, I'm staying here, I'm taking time out of my family or whatever I'm doing in my life and my company. You know, I wanted to make sure that it was over the top. And I had Tony Robbins' #1 sales guy come and he said, this is the best event I've ever attended.
Eli? I think I saw
Yes.
Eli on your picture.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like, you are going to do events better than Tony Robbins. Like, this is incredible. That's what he said to me.
That's so nice. Such a huge compliment. And
Yeah.
you know what I love when you said that you already pre-sold and you already made 600K back? Was that an intentional choice, or you were like, I just don't want to feel the pressure of like I need to sell to make like ROI on this?
Honestly, no. The funny thing is, like, I wasn't even gonna sell to anyone, but like people knew I was making a pitch, and some of my clients who already were working with me was like, what are you pitching? And I was like, oh, this year-long thing. And they're like, give me the deets. And so I ended up just telling a handful of people about it prior, and I gave them a small discount and a little bit of a payment plan if they wanted to not pay in full. And they were like, I'm in. One woman signed up, one of my she's one of my bougie clients. She signed up 8 months before the event. 8 months before the event. I had no details about the pitch. I was just like, this is a year long. There's going to be 4 in-person experiences. That's all I know. I don't know where they are. I don't know what's included. And she was like, I'm in. Whatever
That
it is.
level of trust, like whatever you're selling, I'm in.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Love that.
And so, I had a lot of clients that I worked with that loved me, my work, my team. My year-long program is not just me. It's my whole team. There are like 10 calls a month that they get and 4 in-person experiences. Again, a lot of people don't give that much. But for the price that I was charging, I was like, I want to make sure they're met money-wise, love-wise, mindset-wise, tech-wise, OBM-wise, event-wise. We have my event planner trains in my program once a month. So to me, it was a no-brainer steal kind of pitch. But at the same time, I think that I have developed such a level of trust with clients, and also the people I had, and I want to say this too for everyone listening who's planning events and it's like, oh my God, these strangers are coming and they don't know me. I had people that have never heard of me before walk in my room, love the experience, and pay me $120,000 in full, $60,000 or $30,000 because it was that good. And I think that so many people cheap out or don't do the little things, but that's what creates a high level offer. Someone is willing to pay you 30, 60, or 120,000 or more or less when they walk in your room and they're like, wow, well, if this is what I get for this event, what am I going to get at those retreats?
And what were those little things? You mentioned the decor, you mentioned the food, you mentioned like the timing, the pacing, so it's not like super duper long. What are the tiny things that only you pay attention to so it's exceptionally good for the attendees?
Yeah, I think that I'm very cognizant of this not being a pitch fest and a speaker fest. So the run of show, curating all of the experiences at my event, like day 1 is release, day 2 is rewire, and day 3 is recreate, right? So I made very sure that everything flowed and everything made sense. So, day 1 is like, we're doing breath work, we're doing inner child healing, we're allowing them to open their hearts to feel safe there because there's a bunch of strangers in this room they don't know, and I made sure that like, and again, I love having speakers and other people, but I wanted them to feel safe with me and the agenda in the room. I think that was the way I curated every last teaching. Everything kind of built on each other. So it was like you were ready and excited for that next thing, where you weren't bored out of your mind, or just like, I've been to events where it's like 10 speakers in a row. None of them are, it's like random, 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 random. So, and again, sometimes that's really great depending on what everyone desires. But I think having the run of show in place, everything kind of building on each other, having a couple breaks, having a beautiful lunch, checking in on the room, having an amazing support staff. Like, there's people that I've been to events that don't even pay for like coffee and drinks. Like, we made sure that at the back you have water with lemon, there's a coffee station, there's tea if you need that. Like, even like location wise, I try to say 30, maximum 45 minutes from an airport. I was supposed to go to a retreat. It was 2 hours away from an airport. Like, that's really tiring, when you're traveling. I think that like every last thing I'm looking at, I'm also looking at the hotel itself. Like, how are people going to feel when they walk into this hotel? How are we decorating the hotel? How are we flowing? Even the table setup, right? Where we do group activities. So I wanted round tables where people could look at each other and feel safe to get to know the people at their tables. I mean, I paid, and I don't mind sharing this, I paid $50-something thousand for my AV team. The music, when it hits, how loud it hits, can make such a different experience than if it's too low or it's not the right song. I opened up my entire event with a rose ceremony. And people told me that I was crazy. I'm going to tell you why. We had 175 women there, and I wanted to hug every single one of them and hand every single one of them a rose personally to welcome them in my room. And they were like, that's going to take too long. Nobody's going to want to stand there. That's boring. Every single woman in that room was in tears. It literally made everyone feel so safe and seen by me that I wanted to hug them and hand them a rose and thank them for being in my room.
Wow. That gives me just chills listening to you. You know what I was noting as I was listening to this? I noted warm, because that's your Italian side coming in, the warmth, maybe the integration to help people feel seen. I think that's just such a warm gesture to do that. How long the preparation was for an event like that, when the music, the pacing, the decor, like everything had to be, computed into this.
Yeah.
How long did you prepare for it, or your team?
Full transparency, right before this podcast, I was just on with my event team call. So we prep way in advance. I have 2 calls a week right now. And my event right now, my next one in April, is 5 months out. So I would say I hired my event planner probably close to 10 months out. And then we immediately started getting on 1 to 2 calls a week. And everything takes different hours. It's like the decor, you're picking everything out. Where does it go? You have to fly to the hotel, do a site tour, make sure you're setting everything up properly. The AV, it took me hours and hours and hours to come up with all of the songs and create a playlist for him. So I can't tell you exactly how many hours, but, for me, even, I'm always starting like right away, like right after my last event, we started looking at, okay, what's the venue? What's this? We got that within a month after my last event. We already had the venue locked in for my next one. So I'm a Virgo, but I also I believe in over preparing. And I believe that if you want to have an experience for people, that you should not start planning an event over 100 people under 7 to 8 months out minimum.
That's so important to learn that, and thank you so much for sharing that. What I wanted to kind of add here is ask about the marketing of the event, because you said you're planning ahead of time. Now, how is the marketing of the event? Because you said you can obviously let us know about what kind of offers you were pitching during the event, but I imagine you also pre-sold. You did some pre-selling for this year's event, or was that completely scratched? Yeah, let me know.
I love that question because it's serendipitous to this podcast. So do you ever look at your memories on Facebook?
Yeah, I
Like
do.
so today I woke up and at this point last year we had sold 80 tickets for April. Today we've almost sold 200.
Wow.
Yeah, so I upped I'm going to do 300 instead of 175. So we really have 100 left to sell, and we have 5 months, which I know we'll do. Last year I did run ads because, again, I ran ads for like 3 months, and we did get a couple sales from ads. I loved it. But for me, like a huge part of me is that organic marketing as well. And you're going to want to, if anyone is listening and they're like, I want to prep an event, you should raise the price every couple of bits, right? So I initially, for the people who attended the event in April, they had a very low price. Like, well, I don't think this is all opinionated, right? How low things are, but to come again,
Like
you
an
get
early
this,
bird, like a super early
yeah,
bird type of deal.
like stupid early bird, right? And
Stupid early
then
bird. Love that.
we went. I think we did like a month after the event. We brought a stupid early bird to the public, and then like right now on Monday the price raises a little bit again, and then we'll probably raise the price again at some point in January, and then if we aren't sold out by March 1st. We'll raise it again. So for me, I raise about every 60 to 90 days. You're always going to look at, and like, you need to be smart. So like, if you've sold 5 tickets, you probably shouldn't raise your price yet, you know? But if things are selling well as time goes on, you want to continue to raise the price. So at this point, we've sold almost 200. We literally only have like 17 VIP tickets left. But again, this time around, I started a little bit earlier. So that was step one, but I also had footage, right? So, and testimonials, which I didn't have last time. So I had never done a big event. So for someone who's new to this, you have to really get creative with your copy online because you see the vision, but there's no photos, there's no testimonials. So everybody else can't see the vision. And so I must have posted 100 times about this event, so it was, what's the experience in the room going to be like? What's it going to be like to be with all your sisters? What are they learning? Who are they going to be after? So you want to split it up into all kinds of different posts and really hit all senses, all the things that someone's going to experience in a room. Even some of my copy was around my experience as an event, why I think it's so important to get in a room. And I do think the industry is going to be moving into more in-person stuff. I'm seeing in-person just pop up now, which is why I actually decided to buy a 7-acre home and like host some people there, stuff like that. But I see a lot of people get discouraged and then stop posting. And it's like, it's not over till like the day before your event is when you should shut up about it if it's not full.
Yeah, that's so important. And so is it organic? Is it on Facebook, on Instagram? And
Yeah, great
then
question.
you said you had some paid ads running last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do email marketing as well? What are the channels that you are utilizing
Yeah.
to market the event?
So I started ads a little later. I wanted to see what I could do organically. I think we did about 100 organically before I started ads. I don't know my exact numbers on ads yet. I'd have to look at my doc. But we sold. So I have to say this too, because there's two kinds of ads. I just want to say this really quickly. There's cold ads, and then there's ads to retarget the people who already clicked. So
Yeah.
our best performers were retargeting ads where someone went to my page, didn't check out yet. So we did have a couple of cold ads, don't get me wrong, but it was mainly my people who just needed to be reminded. And it's so much less work for me to have to do. So I think we ran ads for about 3 months, and I loved them. It was just so great. You don't have to keep posting over and over again, and it's kind of just being put back in their face because they clicked. So I was doing sending of emails, Instagram, and Facebook. Those are my 3 channels. I would say personally, Facebook is my favorite. I have a group called Meant for Magic, and I also I probably have about like 10,000 people on my personal profile. I'm really like someone who loves to post, someone who is great at creating content and copy. Obviously, I teach this for a living, so I hope I'm good at it. But I also am not afraid of no. So one of the things that I actually wanted to share with you that I did that I never have done before is I sent messages to people. I guess you could say cold DMs, but they were warm. They were people I knew. And I set my voice. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know. And I was super specific of why I wanted that person in my room. And I meant it. I did not message anyone I didn't want in my room. It was someone where I was like, I got a call that they should be there. And a lot of people converted through me actually doing some reach out towards the end.
I love that. And that goes back to your, like your grinder entrepreneur mentality that just goes out to talk to people to get things done. And I guess when you personally take your time to record your voice, to invite someone to your event, and you tell them why you want them there, that's kind of like, oh, she wants me there. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially
It
in the
worked.
first round, right? Because there's no pictures yet.
Yes. Oh, there's a car outside. So it actually really worked with several. Like, I'll give you an example. There was a woman who I knew very well. Well, actually, I didn't know her. I knew of her. She lived in Connecticut, where I'm from. And I just was like, hey, I'm really having a pull to send you a message. I'd love to have you in my room. I've seen you liking the event post, and I just wanted to give you a personal invite. She literally signed up within 2 minutes after that memo. She said, you know what? I've been on the fence. I think I just needed permission. Thank you so much. And it was a VIP, $2,222 from a 60-second memo.
That's so insane. And you know what? So most people, they don't even try to go there, right? To even send a DM because they're like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm salesy. And like, oh, what am I doing here?
But that's the thing, is so many people say that. I'm not trying to be salesy. Then what the fuck are you trying to be? You're selling something. You know what I mean?
I know.
It's wild to me. It's just wild to me that people are like, I want to fill this event, but I'm not willing to make a post every day, but I'm not willing to send out a memo, but I'm not willing to send out an email. Then you shouldn't, for me, I knew I had a lot of money on the line, a lot of time on the line, a lot of people who were invested in this, and I wasn't going to let anybody down. And I think that we moved into a culture on the internet of this soft girl era, and everything's just going to come to me. I'm like, no, you have to still work and do your job.
But that the
I
ego
fully
is
agree. Your net worth is your net worth, and a lot of people don't want to connect, and especially genuine connection. People didn't answer me. People said no. It didn't bother me. It wasn't like I pulled some random stranger that I'm not Facebook friends with and invited them to an event they've probably never heard of. Mostly the people that I messaged had liked, had commented. I've connected with in some way, shape, or form, whether they were a past client, done a program, whatever it was. So it felt kind of like a warm lead to me personally. And again, I just want to share this. It's not something I've ever done. And I used to say what you're saying, I don't need to do that. I don't need to reach out to anyone. But I was like, you know what? And at the time we probably had 40 tickets left. I was like, I want to get these sold, and this is how I'm going to do it. And I probably sold at least 20 to 30 tickets doing that.
I love that. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing that with the listeners as well. What I wanted to talk about is, what is something that you're going to do differently this year? Next year, 2025, compared to the Men for Magic 2024 event?
Really the major changes are we're just going bigger, so there's going to be more people, probably a little bit more speakers. But I think that's just the major change, to be really honest. I loved what we did. Obviously, I'm changing a little bit about what I'm teaching, too. But different speakers. I'm going to switch some things up because I just don't want it to be the same exact event. But I laugh because if you look at someone like Tony Robbins, he runs Business Mastery, the same stories, the same things over and over and over and over, and no one ever gets tired of it because repetition is the key to mastery, right? So there will be some similar teachings, especially, but again, driving that home over and over again. But a lot of these people are coming to get into the room, to have the experience, to meet new people, to really go all in on themselves. So for me, I'm probably upping some of the decor, making sure we have epic food as always. But really, it's just about going bigger. So more staff, more support with the breath work. And I think that's really the biggest changes. And obviously I grow. So I'm even more in embodiment and even more excited to really just land this home. The only other thing I may do a little more of is letting people share. a little bit more.
Mhm.
I mean, we had a ton of incredible mic shares, but not in every moment can people come up to the mic, because then, you're kind of not teaching as much or doing things when, like, trust me, when it's mic time, everyone wants to talk, which I love, because I love hearing from everyone. So I'm going to try to fit that a little bit more in as well.
Love that. And what offers are going to be running this year, if you don't mind?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I keep saying this year? I think I'm just like teleporting to
It's
January
okay.
already. You know
I
what?
think we're
Because
in
this is
December.
gonna come in January anyway. So maybe
Perfect.
me saying this year actually makes perfect sense. So maybe before I ask that question, I want to go back to last year's event, which is going to be 2024 event.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about, because you said you had like 120K offer, 30K offer. So were there like a thought process behind what type of offers you're going to be offering to
Yeah.
people or pitching?
Actually, I'm going to make this really easy for you, because it's one offer with 3 tiers, right?
Oh,
Most
wow.
people sell a million things, and I'm not saying all people, but a confused buyer doesn't buy, right? So I had one offer. It was a year long. It includes me, my OBM, my and co-coaches, energy events. So we had a full team. At the 30K, you get 3 retreats and all of the group calls, right? And then you get 2 calls with my co-coaches. At the 60K, you get 4 retreats, and you get 1 call a month with me, Voxer with me, and then 4 calls with my co-coaches. At 120K, which there was only 1-2 spots of that's you get VIP days with me in person, more calls every single month. So like 120K is like full blown one-on-one, absolutely all in. 60K is one-on-one with me, but like 1 call a month. And then 30 was getting the group and my co-coaches. And so I'm actually selling the same exact thing this year. I know that people that either it wasn't a divine timing for, or they wanted to save up financially to be able to do it this year, are going to come back and then actually pull the trigger on that. And there will be a lot of people that I know. I mean, it was pretty impressive. I've seen a lot of people in this industry do events. For us to do 2.2 million in a day, I knew I had not only an incredible event, but an incredible offer. And again, the offer really talked to so many different people. We have women in nonprofit. We have coaches and mentors. We have people running ads. We have someone who does a weed dispensary. We have just like so many different women inside the container. There's health, there's love, there's this, there's that. And I think it's just because we hit every avenue with our pitch. It was like, I'm teaching social media and business, but we're also teaching mindset and body. We're teaching energy. We're teaching communication. And I have my entire team who helped me create my multi-millions beside me. So it's not just about me. I think that's a big thing that sets me apart from a lot of people, is it's not the me show. And it never was destined to be. Like, do I love being on that stage? Am I the main person on that stage? Absolutely. Do people want to work with me one-on-one? Absolutely. That's why they're going to pay those higher prices. And those 2 tiers sold out like that. I actually ended up taking on extra people in those tiers because people were like screaming down my door to work with me one-on-one. But I always wanted to create a community of women. Like the women, we have 52 people on the container, and it literally is like they're all best friends. It's just incredible.
I love that. And how big is your team, if you don't mind sharing? Because you said it's not just you, it's also your team, and they are
Yeah.
obviously very smart people.
So there is my OBM. I actually have 2 of them now. So that's like the tech, the sales pages, the emails, the contracts, all of that. And then there is my energy coach. So she does all things intuition, frequency, energy, body scans, all of that. So she also, works with mindset as well. And then we have my event planner. And so she talks about like events and selling and all that. So anybody, whether you're coming to me for kind of all the things, but honestly, most people do come to me for a business, but I'm very good at like mindset, confidence, communication, all of that. But you have someone who really focuses on frequency and energy and intuition, someone who's doing the back end, the tech, all of that, and then someone who's doing the events. So I think that in the container, there's nothing that's untouched.
Was it hard to curate that type of team?
to be honest, my energy coach is my best friend who first was a client. We ended up becoming friends, and we did a retreat together actually last year. And I was like, it was like we were made to do this. And then I said, you want to be on my team? And it was just like a resounding yes. My OBM that teaches in the container has been with me for 5 years. So I trust her very well. And then my event planner, honestly, she was like so grand slam out of the park with the event that I was like, these people need to know you. They need to know that like there's other ways to do events, you know, very organized, very seamless. And so it was people that I already liked, knew, trusted, that helped me endlessly. And then I was like, of course, I know they can help other people if they want to be on this mission with me. And every single person was just so excited to help all these women.
I love that. And can you just talk to me about that 2.2 million day? How was
Yeah.
that thing? Like, how did you feel? Was this your highest event sale so far?
Yeah. So it was my first event. And honestly, like, you know, from what I've seen in this industry, even with more numbers in my room, I'd say most people do high end about $1 million. Like it's huge to make $1 million at your event. And I don't even know how to explain it because it's like my goal was 4, but also because I'm crazy
You
and
mean
an
4
overachiever.
million?
My goal was 4.
Ah,
So we did 2.2, and that was just from what I sold for the year long. But I feel like it was so fucking surreal because it was my first one. Like people were coming up to me like this is unheard of for people who have like one of my mentors is on his like 4th event and hasn't done more than a little over $1 million. You know, like most people I know that I've hired that I've worked with, you know, that's the average. So to do this, my very first time, never hosting this container before, having all these women just trust me, like it just showed how much care that I put in. And also like I was like, holy shit. Which is why, by the way, this year I really didn't sell anything else besides this year-long program. That's 110% what I've been in. I wanted the best retreats, the best testimonials, them always feeling met, them always feeling loved. So I probably left a couple million on the table this year, going all in on making sure that by the time I make this pitch again in April, the women in my room who were a part of this year-long container, because I'm pitching it again, can get up and say, that's the best thing since sliced bread.
I love that. And so you're going for 4 million for 2025 or trying to hit the 4 goal?
I would say that like my exciting stretch out of my ass goal would be 5 million.
Nice. I'm going to be
I gotta
checking in
put
with
it out.
you and see if that happened.
Definitely. You know, look, for sure, like next year I'm definitely going to work on other projects. Like I'm going to be creating an Oracle deck and, you know, more passive products and my podcast. Now that I'm moving, it's going to be a lot more VIP days, other retreats. So I'm definitely going to have other things on my docket next year and not only do this container, but it still is always my number one. So I do think 4 to 5 million is absolutely possible. And, you know, I like to play in the quantum of the possibilities of what we can do in the world.
Why not? You might as well just get it, you know?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing all of that juicy details about the event. I can tell you care a lot.
You know, I think for the next 5 years, in person is going to be my thing. And there's no level that, like, for anyone listening that's like, it's another vibration to be able to hug someone and be there for them and look them in the eyes and just like they can feel you. Where, and this is not nice of me to say, but there's so many people posting on the internet, lying off their ass about their income, have no embodiment in what they're doing, don't give a shit. And it's like when someone gets in the room with me, they know, they feel me. And I feel the same way when sometimes I meet someone that I've been seeing on the internet say blah, 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 and I meet them and I'm like, oh, that's scarcity. That's not the same thing I was feeling over there, you know? And so that's why I do love in-person work. Like you're just able to sense someone so much deeper and really understand like who that person is.
And I think you're gonna be coming down with an event company because this is like wedding planner 101 that you're already
Yeah.
like exceeding, or like in-person events and just like maybe
Hmm.
going to the realms of doing that. But if you're doing anything in Europe, please let me know because I would love to go,
Definitely.
you know? I think
Yeah, I
Europe is
think
so
eventually
beautiful.
we'll venture there. Definitely doing things out of the country is a little more complicated with like ordering the signs and ordering the decor and all that stuff. But I definitely think it's something we'll definitely do in the next, I would say, 4 years.
Did you feel nervous about meeting so many people? Because I don't know, I'm super introverted, so I'm like, I love
Yeah.
people from a distance, like, oh, you're nice.
I have to be honest with you, no. I will tell you that before I got on stage, my heart was palpitating out of my chest and I was hysterically crying. And I was like,
What?
what is that? What is happening? What is
Did you have a
happening? And I
panic
was,
attack or just like a happy crying?
no, I was having a panic attack.
Oh,
Like 110%. And like, I've never really had them before much in my life. But I think that in my true belief, my heart was expanding to hold that room. Like I knew what I was about to walk into and I was so overjoyed with like love and ecstasy and all these emotions, but it also like felt like my heart was going to beat out of my chest. So it definitely felt like a panic attack. But the second I walked in that room, it stopped. The second I started dancing and I got on the stage and I was like, thank God, because I thought I was going to pass out. That's what you feel when you're having a panic attack, right?
yeah.
I don't think I was nervous. I think that for me, I just always want to over deliver. I want to be the best, do the best, make sure everyone's experience is 100 out of 100. So that was just my hope that everything ran smoothly, registration and the food and the event, and that everybody was happy. But no, I think it's funny because I'm a hermit. I'm a Cancer moon and rising, so I definitely like being alone at points, but I'm very good at when it's time to get out on stage, when it's time to get into a room. I'm more than happy to go talk to 100 people. I just, at the end of the day, then need to go in my bath by myself.
So how can people find you? I mean, I'll put everything in the description of this episode, but I'll let you
Um,
share
so
that.
Instagram is Andrea Franco XO. Let me pull up what my free group is, which is only for women. I know it's like meant
I
for
think it's
magic.
like I was just checking it today as I was listening to your
Meant
episodes.
for Magic with Andrea Franco. That's what my group is called on Facebook for women. I'm Andrea Franco on Facebook. Those are like the main three things I do. I'm happy to give you like a free training if you want to gift your audience with like a free law of assumption training. If that's what you want to do. And
Yeah,
yeah,
why
I
not?
mean, cool. I'll give you a law of assumption training so they could sign up and learn how to create their destiny and hopefully their dream event if they want to. But yeah,
Wow.
Facebook is my jam. I like when people, you can add me, follow me on there, or join my Facebook group.
Thank you so much and love all of that. And have a good day.